All right, so I wanted to talk a little bit about rendering in Lumion, and so I'll kind of come in and maybe adjust this guy. Maybe I want to look at it a different way, and so I adjust it here, and I'll come in here and save that camera. So now I've got sort of this camera and that camera. And you can adjust these guys. Now, when you get to the point that you're ready to render, you can set up your background. And so the things that I was using, like if you wanted to go ahead and come in and go to the weather and go to the fog, I was using the fog to kind of, like if I pull the fog density up, it'll start to blur it, but if you let it sit behind, you can see it will sort of fog the background out. And if you don't let it get into the building and you pull the fall off way out, you could try the brightness, but and adjusting it to where it kind of fades it out as much as you possibly can. Um, and then I was also sort of going in and trying the sun. So if I go to the sun, right, and I pull the sun brightness and kind of play with that, it does the same thing. So you can get close, but it's not ever really going to go completely white. So that's kind of as close as I'm getting it. So you can kind of play around with that. The other things that I would do is like obviously the sun heading here. You can go in and play around with that until, you get it close to what you want. And then the sun height, maybe you're getting it a little further in. And so getting things kind of set up the way that you want them. The other one I would suggest using would be I'm just going to type in 2 here. It should bring up the 2-point perspective. If you click on that, it will actually straighten up all your walls so they don't get real wonky, right? And so you might have to adjust your view again, and I'll store that camera. Oh, let's go back to this guy and sort of zoom out. Like if I store this camera and I want to have these effects on it, I can actually copy effect list and then come to this one and paste it, right? Paste effect list. So now I've got that. You can also play with the focal length here, so you could bring it in a little closer, right? And so what you want to do is kind of get your view set up. And later on, you could delete these. This one's actually working because the background's all totally gone, which is kind of nice. And just get everything set up the way that you want it. And then the next thing you want to do is start rendering and then potentially changing. The thing you want to make sure of, so I'll come in here and put the camera here, just right over the old one, is like if you're going to do a displaced view or something, give yourself a little space because you'll have to change where the view is. But let's say you were just going to do different materials, right? Then you would render this guy out. So you would just come in and render the photo out, right? And so I'll just do the desktop, and I'm going to save the alpha channel. I'll just do a desktop, and I'll come in and in this, I'll just make a new folder. I'll call it render tests, right? And I'll save this as M1, right? And click save, right? So it'll render that guy out, and it's complete. And I'll just click OK, and it'll go back. And then I can go back to my build, right? And I can pick the concrete board form and I can flip it out for something else. So if I wanted to maybe go back to, let's go to glass, right? And maybe some deco. Ooh, that's kind of weird, right? Maybe not deco glass or more. Let's go back to glass, architectural glass maybe. So here's like an architectural glass. And then maybe if I zoom in, let's go get these floors again, right? And maybe the floors, fur, what's assorted? Cardboard, solar panels, tactile paving, sponge, acoustic foam. How about cardboard, right? It's a little bright. Well, that's kind of interesting. So cardboard that's peeled back. And then I would probably go to this and pull the texture back, right? So it's not so in my face. And then maybe this floor here, if I go to the materials, maybe I put a metal on that. So, see if we got, what does that look like? Oh, that's pretty terrible, right? So, aged bronze. Some of these, aged aluminum. Yeah, these just have different, let's go back to metals. Aged diamond plate, metal meshes, metal painted. How about painted metal? That's a little better. Again, I would still go in and, if I double click on this, I would pull that texture way back so it's, you know, less kind of in your face. And then once you do that, you can hit check. And then if I go back to my camera, right, I still have this photo set up exactly the way that I wanted it previously. And then I'll just render that guy out, right? And that would be desktop, and you could save that. We probably don't need an alpha channel again because it isn't necessary. I'll just go to desktop and save that as M2, right? So you're just saving these guys out. The other option that you have, obviously, that I was talking about was displaced views. So I'll do that in just a second.